Hello the internet, hope you're all well. Thank you very much for stopping by. Okay, it's a bit of a late one this is. It's very nearly 7 o'clock on Tuesday the 10th of October, Prime Day, and at about 5 minutes past midnight last night I ordered this, which I'm about to open with you. What we're looking at here is a TP-Link Tapo outdoor dome camera. Now, I've done a few reviews of Tapo products earlier on in the year for two different internal cameras and an external bullet camera. And I was effusive with praise, and I thought they were really good, and I've had them all year, and they have genuinely been exceeding my expectations. I've been really happy with them, and I wanted to expand. I've got, if you saw my previous review, I mentioned I've got lots of other security cameras, and I've got a Swann CCTV system. It's 4 years old. The cameras are starting to get life expired. One has now gone, and I was going to replace it with a bullet camera. But I also wanted to experiment with a point, tilt, and zoom camera. I tested two back end of last year and into the early part of this year for Amazon on their Vine program, which were £150–160 cameras, and they were very good. But they had their own ecosystem. I like having one single ecosystem for all my cameras, so you're not jumping between apps, and I found that the Tapo TP-Link app for controlling these was superb. It was easy to use, you could jump between cameras, you could have live views of all the cameras rather than having to pick one at a time, and you could very easily reference any activities you wanted to see on the internal memory card. Very easy to go to a day, go to a time, you can see it's highlighted when there's activities, you can zoom in it really quickly, and it's really quick to access the data. I gave it a 5-star review back in the day, and if I could, I'd give it a 6-star review. They're really good. But I also mentioned at the time that Tapo TP-Link had just brought out a dome camera, but I wasn't too keen on it because it was only a standard HD or full HD camera, which I thought was a bit limited, given that everything is now going like 2K, QHD or UHD and all this sort of business. I thought I'd stick around, and someone actually commented on my videos back then that they had actually brought out a 2K version, but it wasn't available on the UK market, so I thought I'd hang around. And a few weeks ago, Tapo did actually release two of them, in fact, and this is the more expensive of the two. There are two different ones. Both are 2K. Both are 360-degree dome cameras. This is the C520WS. The only difference is this has got, I'm reading straight from the Amazon page here, Starlight Colour Night Vision. And what that is it gives it more crisper colour at night time, and the cameras in night, the standard ones, are really good, but this one's next level. I'm also looking at getting the dome cam version that's got, not the dome cam, sorry, the bullet cam version that's got this, but that's not available on Amazon yet. It's listed on Amazon but not actually for sale, so I'm hoping for that to come in anytime soon, and that'll start replacing some of the CCTV cameras from Swann I've got. But this is going to be a new installation, and I'm looking forward to seeing this in action. Like I said, I've got a couple of dome cameras that I've tested previously, and they're very good at they can track activities, unlike a bullet cam which is fixed. A dome cam can obviously rotate and zoom in and do various things, and if it sees something moving across the camera, it zooms in. When I'm out in the garden kicking the football around with the dog, they're constantly following me around, and they're really quite good actually. But I'm keen to see what Tapo's version is like with their own internal ecosystem with their app. So let's go ahead and have a look. I'm going to need me a Swiss Army knife for this. This is a bit of a late in the day one. The reason I showed you my watch is it's very nearly 7 o'clock. I was literally about to shut down and go on the treadmill, and then there was a knock at the door, and the Amazon delivery guy had turned up with this parcel. Like I say, I only ordered it just after midnight. It had been in my wish list for a while. I just wanted to see if it went down in price. It did, so I thought I would jump in and get it. So here we go. Get a shot of that. There we are. Sorry about any glare off my light there, but that is the TP-Link Tapo 2K QHD pan and tilt camera. Now it's pan and tilt, not pan tilt zoom. You quite often see these as PTZs, which is pan tilt and zoom. This is just a PT. but with 2K, you're going to be able to zoom in on digital focus pretty well with that, I would imagine. It takes up to 512GB memory card. I've ordered a 128GB Class 3 SanDisk memory card. I tend to use those for most of my security cameras, except this camera I'm looking at the moment. That's I can't remember what the brand was, but that's a higher transfer data rate one, but standard U1s or even U3s are the higher ones, but so you can get those for 128 or 256GB for only between 10 and 20 pounds, something like that. And I prefer those to cloud cameras. Again, I've done reviews in the past of things like what are they called? The Arlo Pro cameras, really good cameras, but you're stuck with their cloud ecosystem because they don't take internal memory cards, and I just don't like that. These are a far more economical way of going about things. So I'm keen to see what the performance is of this in action. So let's take the old plastic off. Wish they wouldn't do plastic. We don't need plastic in this day and age, do we? I'm not a tree hugging person, but there are some things you don't really need, isn't there? Right, okay, so this is the model Tapo C520WS, which, as far as I can see on their website, is the top of the range dome camera. And I'm going to see how this is. I'm going to when the memory card comes, I think it's coming tomorrow actually, I shall stick this all up and judge the performance, and if it's really good, I may well go ahead and get another one while it's on offer. If it's good but I'm not seeing the benefit of this, I have to keep reading it, starlight colour, then I may go for the one that doesn't have it because it's a little bit cheaper. I've got potentially 3 sites for a dome camera around the extremities of the property, and which will make use of it, because there are things to be said about dome cameras, and also things to be said about fixed camera bullet cameras. They have their strengths and weaknesses, and we'll see how we get on with this one. So what we've got a bit of foam. We've got that will be a fixing mounting thing, so you can drill it onto your wall. We have a quick start guide, lots of little bits of information which are probably irrelevant to me. Right, now this is the important thing, how the power delivery is. Because one of the things, like I said, I've got Swann CCTV dotted around all over the place, and everything is wired up with a CCTV system compared to an IP system, which is what this is. There's no wireless communication or anything, but you still need power. But the CCTV takes power and video feed from the same cable. It's a BNC cable, and I've got those. How many have I got? I've got 11 active cables around the house and property. So I've already got things wired in, and those BNC cables deliver power as well as video, but it's 2 separate cables. And I only had this thought last night: could I use the existing BNC cables to power this? So instead of having to rewire everything to get power to wherever I'm going to put this, I can just put it where one of the old cameras is. I genuinely don't know if I can do it, and I shall. I'm going to go. One of the CCTV cameras that has failed is fortunately quite a low level, so I should be able to get hold of the cable pretty quickly and see whether I can do that or not. I may be totally wrong, but if we can, brilliant, because I don't have to rewire meters and meters of cables around the house. Right, so we get one DC charger, which is, I don't know if it says on there what the output of it is. Output is 9 volts. Right, so it's a 9 volt output. Okay, we have that'll be the mount. So alongside wherever it's gone, alongside that will be your mounting points there. So that will go up on your wall, on your fence panels, whatever. Then we have the camera itself. It's quite a dinky little thing actually. That's a little bit smaller than I was expecting. The other dome cameras I've got are really quite big, but that's, I wouldn't say it's subtle, but it's all right. So there's your antennas to get your wireless signal. So all that cable is doing is taking the power, unless you want to do you've got power over Ethernet there, so you can power it and send the signal through to your routers. So that is the camera. Somewhere in there you'll be able to rotate that. So there's the camera itself. There you go. And there you go. That's where the memory card goes in there. So you need to unscrew that. If it's anything like any of the others, it'll have like a rubber seal. So when you take those screws out, it uncompresses the seal. So antennas, camera lens, memory card slot, fixing, so that will go, it'll slide on there one way or another, like that. So there you go, that goes up on your wall as such. You need to wire that in to your power cable there. You'll need to download the Tapo app, which, like I say, really good. It's much better than most IP camera apps that I've tested in the past, which is the pure reason why I'm going for this. I have not seen any reviews of this. It's unusual for me. I've just dived blindly in to get this, just hoping that the camera is pretty good. And even if it's not the last word in quality, as long as it works well with the ecosystem and the app, I'm gonna be reasonably happy. But if it's a good camera, I shall let you know. So we'll get this all wired up. They're just some your fixing bits there for the cable to make sure that's all waterproof and sound. Okay, so that's all there is to it. So I'm going to get this wired up. Hopefully it'll connect to the BNC cable, otherwise I'll need to wire it up with that. The memory card will come tomorrow. I shall install that, get it all up and running, and I shall decide on the quality of it, whether to get another one or go for the slightly cheaper version of it if I don't think that the Starlight Colour Night thing is worth the extra increase in price. And then I shall leave it on test for perhaps a week, and I shall come back and give you my thoughts on it. So I shall see you in a little while. See you shortly. Okay, this is me installing the Tapo C520WS on a crisp Sunday morning. I waited all week to be able to install this because I wanted to put it on the corner of this house. It's going to replace that camera you just saw on shot there, but to be able to do that I needed an extra attachment. This here is a bracket. If you search on Amazon for a universal corner mount for security camera, you get things like this, and this was the most economical one I could find, and it is perfect. It was absolutely perfect for my application here. What we need to do is we need to attach the camera mount that came with the Tapo camera, attach it to that with the 4 bolts there, and then attach it to the wall, and there you go. That is the finished article, all wired up. I've used the same power cable that was previously connected to the existing camera. And this was my first test of the product. Now you'll notice the image is a little bit low res, and this is important to note. You need to change the settings. By default, the camera is set to the lowest settings. It's set to 720, so it looks a little bit grainy at this point. So change that in the settings once you're all happy with the positioning of it, and the quality will improve greatly. I'm just showing you the range of the motion on the position that I've placed it. And then once I changed it to 2K in the settings, I'm going to show you a few different versions of what it looks like in different conditions. Now this was me when I went to take the dog out in the evening. Now this is when the house and the back garden is all lit up, so you can see the landing lights down the side of the garden. I've also got a couple of floodlights. There's one right next to the camera and there's one looking into this yard here. You're going to see it turn off. There you go. That's what it looks like without any additional lighting. I'm just going to pan it back around. So this is when it's well illuminated. This is how good the colour representation is. And then we're going to show it in perfect pitch blackness. This was at midnight and no other lights on in the garden. That glaring light you can see is actually another infrared camera. That bright light is the infrared. So you can see what the camera's like at 2K with no other light source whatsoever, purely in black and white. So that's what the quality of the image looks like, which without any other illumination, I think that looks pretty good actually. It's pretty decent resolution, I think. It's actually better than my Swann CCTV camera. Then this is with the floodlight on. You can manually turn this on and off if you want to, or you get it to automatically turn on when it detects something. This is with the floodlight set to 100%, and again this is when the colour comes in, so you can see what the quality is like. It's a touch grainy perhaps, but I think that's pretty good for what is a relatively economical budget camera. I think that's pretty acceptable. I think if someone walks in front of the camera, you get a good image of them. So that's with no other illumination. And then what you're going to see now is a fox wandering through the garden at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you can see it's detected it. That movement there was the camera auto tracking that fox. And as the camera tracks it across, you can see it goes from black and white and into colour mode. Now I will say that there are 2 floodlights here. There's the one on the camera and the one on the wall, separate to this camera. I'm not sure which was on first. That's when they're both on together. But I've skipped the footage on a few seconds because now we've got 2 foxes in the garden. Yet we get all sorts of wildlife in this garden. And these are the two young foxes that actually live in the garden next door to us with their mother. And they wander through our garden regularly and make our dog go absolutely nuts, but I don't mind them being in the garden. I like the wildlife. Like I say, I get loads of wildlife coming through the garden. We've got bats in the trees. We've got multiple hedgehogs and squirrels wandering around, so I don't mind them. And it's quite nice to see them on video. And it's just quite nice being able to capture their activities and what they get up to of an evening time. It's I don't mind this at all. I don't know if you agree, but I think this footage is pretty good from this camera. I've been really genuinely quite impressed with what it's done so far, and this was just from the first night, so yeah, I'm happy with it so far. Okay, time for a bit of a summary of the Tapo C520WS. And before I start that, if you do hear any panting or sighs, the dog that you've seen running around in the video is just at the end of my finger off a shot here. And yeah, we've just been running around in the garden, so she's sleeping off a bit of tiredness. But the Tapo C520WS, well, I've had it a week now. It arrived last Tuesday when I started filming this video. It's now Tuesday the 17th. I installed it into place on Sunday. The delay there was because I was going to put it into replace an existing camera at lower level, but when I thought about it, I thought this would be ideal for putting on the corner of the house because it's a dome cam and you can swivel the view around. I thought this would be ideal to put it on the corner of the house, and then I can see two sides. So I've actually replaced another external camera, but to do that I need some kind of mount. The mounts that you get with these cameras are to fit flush onto a flat wall or fence post, something like that. And when I looked on Amazon, I found that there were some of these universal mounts that you can either mount flat or on a corner, so it's on two 90-degree angles. You can mount it and it projects the camera out, allowing it to spin around, and I thought that was a really good idea. It was a bit more of an expense to factor in, but I thought this was actually justifiable. Did think about manufacturing it myself, but in the end I went to Amazon and bought one from there, and if you're going to do the same thing, I do recommend it. But the camera, at the start of this video, I did say that there were two very, very similar cameras, the 520, which we're reviewing here, and the 510. And I thought at the time there was only a small difference, and the small difference being that colour starlight night vision, which, as you see on the video, it looks pretty good. But when I drilled down into the specifications of the two cameras, it turns out that there were a few other minor changes, only relatively subtle. The biggest one that jumped out at me was that the 520, as reviewing here, states that it has a night vision adopting f1.6 large aperture lens that allows more light into the camera, so you don't need it to be as light to get the same quality of image. The 510, however, it doesn't actually state on any of the specifications what the aperture of the lens is, so I've got to be led to believe that it's a higher number, therefore it needs more light to come in. And here is the dog. Hello, say hello to the camera if you want, Storm. That you're going to need more light. Storm, sit. Good girl, you stay there. She does like being on camera. So it leads me to believe that you need a higher amount of light going into the lens to be able to get the same quality of shot that you're getting with the 520, as we're reviewing here. The other minor, if you want to call it, difference was that they both say that they're 2K cameras. This camera has got a resolution of 2560 by 1440, so genuine true 2K. Whereas the 510 only has a resolution of 2304 by 1296. I'm reading off the specifications at the moment. So it's not strictly full 2K. It's not much in it, and you'll be hard to press to see the difference on your recordings, but it's worth bearing in mind. The last difference that I noticed was that the 510 has an IP rating of 65, IP65, whereas this camera has an IP rating of 66. Minor differences. Does it justify the £20 or so difference in RRP? Very difficult for me to say because I've not tested the 510. All I can go on is the 520. And I've got to say, it has completely exceeded all my expectations. I was hesitant about buying a dome camera initially when the first one that they brought out was a 1080p resolution. I thought that was too low, and because these aren't zoom lenses, they're only pan and tilt rather than pan, tilt and zoom as some of the more expensive cameras have, you need the higher resolution to be able to digitally zoom in on anything that wanders through your garden, prowlers, dogs, anything, whatever. You want to be able to zoom in on a good quality resolution image to be able to see what it is that you're looking at. So I wanted a 2K camera minimum. I wasn't sure how it was going to perform. It's entirely plastic build, whereas my previous more expensive PTZ cameras are steel construction or aluminium construction, and they feel more premium. So I had my reservations as to how good this would be, but I've had it operational now since Sunday. Like I said, it's Tuesday, so a few nights, and it's been brilliant. It's been genuinely brilliant. I can't say enough about it. What I will say is, if you're after a single camera, the most important thing to you really is the quality of the camera itself, because you're only going to have an app to look at that one camera. That's all you need. But if you're going to have a multi-camera system, you're going to ideally you want one manufacturer of camera, so you only got one app. See, I've actually got over 30. I think I've got 36 security cameras of one nature or another, whether they are the Swann CCTV, genuine CCTV cameras, or the IP cameras. So I've now got 7 Tapo IP cameras. Those replace, I think it was 8 Victure IP cameras. So I've got those, only 2 of them still actually in operation. The rest are up in the loft. But I've got 2 Arlo Pro cameras. I've got 2 Kodak cameras, and I've got a multitude of what I refer to as no-name brand cameras dotted around the place. Plus I've got the Ring doorbell that's got a camera on it, and they all have their own app. And while most of the cameras are pretty good, it's a pain to jump between all the apps. So you want to look at the CCTV camera, that's the Swann app. If I want to look at the IP Tapo cameras, I've got to open the Tapo app. If I want to look at the Arlo cameras, different app again. It's a pain in the backside, and you soon realise that if you're going to have a multi-camera system, you want one single manufacturer, because these apps aren't interchangeable. I can't look at the Tapo cameras on an Arlo app or vice versa. So you need to find a manufacturer who has got a really, really good app. And when I was looking at buying the previous Tapo cameras, I was again hesitant. I wasn't sure how good the app would be, and my first reactions to it, don't fall off there. My first reactions to it was, I wasn't too keen on it initially, until I started playing around with things, and I realised how good it actually was, because all of these Tapo cameras play nicely with each other. I can have all of my cameras on screen all at once. Well, that's a lie. You can split the screen into 4, so you've got 4 cameras on screen at once, swipe across, and you get your next 4. But you can set them up in whatever configuration you want, and they're all live. So unlike some apps that I've used where you've actually got to go into each individual camera, you get a still, go into the camera, then after a few moments of refreshing, it's a live image. With the Tapo app, all cameras that are on screen are live, and they appear almost straight away. It's a fraction of a second before the image is live. So when you go into the app and you go into the cameras, there's a little spinny thing for a blink of an eye, and then it's live. It's fantastic. It really is good. And there's only an ever so small delay between what is actually happening on the camera and what you're seeing. Again, compare that to like the Arlo, which is a much more expensive system. There's a 5 or 6 second delay between what's happening and when it appears on your screen. My experience of the Tapo app is really, really good, and I'm gonna actually show you a little bit of the app about how we go about setting the camera up. So this over on the side of the screen over here is the iPhone app. So on here I've got those are my 7 current cameras there. If you want to add a camera, so you go to add devices up in the top right corner, then we're looking at adding an outdoor camera, so choose outdoor, and those are all the outdoor cameras that Tapo currently make. I'm setting it up wirelessly. You can set it up with an Ethernet cable if you want. Then turn the device on, and when it flashes between green and red, you know it's in operation. And then you just go to your Wi-Fi settings and come off of your usual Wi-Fi router and select the Tapo. It'll have its own individual name. It'll say something like Tapo 5643 or something like that. Select that, go back into the app, and just follow the on-screen instructions, and it will set up really, really straightforward. When you first turn the camera on and you put your memory card in, it will say something like memory card not formatted, please follow instructions. While it's setting all this stuff up on that app, then it will do it for you. It'll say formatting, do you wish to format memory card? So off you go and you format your memory card. But Beyond that, in operation, the app, I should again bring it up on the left hand side of the screen. So again, there's my seven cameras. Go into the this 520. These are the options you've got. So this is how you pan and tilt. You've got a little on-screen joystick, and you can move the camera left, right, up, down, do whatever you want. So this is me panning around the entire garden. You've got a good range of movement here. It won't go all the way like a penguin's head, but it will go owl's head. Mixing my birds up, but it will go almost all the way around. So on a corner like I've got set up here, it's absolutely spot on. Beyond the control of the pan and tilt, you've got a pano function. So if you just press that button once, let go of it, it'll do one pano circuit. It will go all the way to the left and it'll go all the way to the right. So you can search with one press of a button anything that's within the field of the view of the camera, and you can set that up to do that all the time. So normally you'd have it set up so it's a fixed lens and you'd only move it when you want to, but if you want to have it on continual patrol mode, it's called, it will just continuously keep going like that, which is really, really good if you want that sort of thing. And there's some of the other options. You've got all kinds of things on there. We want to use the microphone, whether you want to have the alarm on, turn the floodlight on. These are some of the settings. You'll need to do these because by default there's a lot of things that this is set up to as at the lowest setting. Like if you see some of the other reviews that said it's poor quality, well, it comes out of the box set up only at 720p resolution rather than 2K, and you've got 1080 in between if you want. And the frames per second, it only was to 15 frames per second. You can have 15, 20 or 25. That's the recording schedule over there, so you can set it up to be constantly recording, only recording when there's events, and only recording at certain times of the day if you really, really want to. So there's the quality. So this is the whether you want a night vision on infrared only, so it's always in black and white, whether you want it in full colour all the time, in which case the floodlights on all the time, or smart mode. Smart mode, it'll just come on when it detects something. The floodlight will come on, it'll go into full colour mode. So there's your frames per second. So make sure you get those settings set up right. When you first turn it on for the first time, as you saw, when I first turned it on, it was a little bit grainy. That's because it was at 720. You could also set up your privacy zones, and this is really good. You can completely manually set up where you want a privacy zone. So if you don't want anything recording on that side of the camera, you can put that screen in, and it'll blank it out. It won't appear in your footage. So that is really, really good if you've got cameras overhanging neighbours and stuff like that. So it's really, really good. That's the floodlight brightness. I think it was defaulted to 50%, so you can set it up to 100% if you really want to, and that's how long the floodlight stays on for. So you've got an awful lot of control of this camera to set it all up, and that's just this particular camera. If you want to set up all the other cameras, they've all got individual control as well. And this is the how you select the playback. So I've selected the playback. You can either search on the timeline, just scroll it back, zoom in on it, or you choose individual snapshots. Those ones I'm scrolling down there, they're individual snapshots, and if I press one, that's how quickly it starts. So that's access the memory card, and immediately it's already accessing the footage of the fox going across the screen. I think this app is as good as any I've ever tried, if not better. The Swann CCTV system, which should be the gold standard, compared to that, I think that's quite poor. I really do genuinely believe the Tapo app is almost perfect, and I'm going to say almost perfect. I'm going to caveat that because they still have the same issue I had when I reviewed the earlier cameras back at the start of the year. That up here, just out of shot, is my iPad Pro. It sits here, and I sit here for work, and I'm here for many hours every single day, and then I turn around here and work on here. My iPad sits up there, and I often have the security cameras up, and with the iPad in landscape mode, I can see all the cameras. All the cameras are split screen like that. So I've got all four cameras, swipe across the next three cameras. They're all there in landscape mode, perfectly fine. I can see all the cameras. But if I want to go to all those menu navigations that you've just seen there, it goes into portrait mode. So I'm having to look at it like that on the iPad. It's fine on the iPhone because you tend to look at your iPhone in, or any smartphone in portrait mode anyway. But maybe if you've got your iPad on your lap or something like that, you're holding it in portrait mode, it's not a problem. But if you've got it on a stand, like one of those prism stands, or it's up on a clasp like that, you have it in landscape mode, and it's just a bit annoying that to go through all the menus to swap between cameras and whatever, you've got to tilt like that. Once you're in the cameras, like I say, it's fine. It rotates to landscape mode. It's just, I wish Tapo would do something about that. But other than that, what else is there to say? Well, RRP It's very expensive, relatively speaking, to the other cameras in the range. It's the flagship external dome cam as it stands at the moment, and RRP is $89.99. If I would suggest, even at $89.99, I would still give that 5 stars. That's how much I like not just the camera, but the whole ecosystem. The camera, the app, its interaction with all the other cameras. Even at $89.99, I would say, yes, I would buy another one. But there are plenty of offers throughout the year on Tapo products, you know, for Prime Days, for Black Fridays. And I bought this on a Prime Day deal. So do hunt around for the prices on Amazon. Put it into your wish list and just keep an eye on it, see if it goes up or down. All the other cameras in the range have gone up or down. And on that score, do be careful of the model numbers. I would always say, make a list of the cameras that you want. Say you want an internal dome cam, say you want an external bullet cam, and you want an external dome cam. Make sure you're buying the right one. If necessary, go to TP-Link Tapo's website, because it lists them all. It says them in the app as well, and they're all on Amazon as well, and you'll show you the price. But Amazon still have most of the cameras that they've sold over the last year or so, and Tapo have continuously brought out new cameras. So you just got to make sure you're buying the most modern, up-to-date one, or the one of the specification that you want, because at the moment there's the 520, the 510, and I think it was the 500 was the 1080p external dome cam. And likewise, you've seen the my previous reviews of all the other cameras, they all had lesser models as well. And when some cameras are on offer and others cameras aren't, you could mistakenly think that the camera that is on offer at a cheaper price to the camera that isn't on offer might be the lower spec one, because the one that isn't on offer might be an older one. So you just got to be careful. Just make a list of the cameras that you're interested in, compare the specs, and get ready to buy them when they're on offer. That is my recommendation to you. But beyond that, the installation of the camera onto the wall was straightforward. You got a plastic mount, 4 screws. You push that onto the mount, and there's another 2 tiny little screws. The fact that I put it onto that universal mount before I put it up on the wall was quite useful, because all the little fiddly screws and wiring in, feeding in the cable was done at ground level. It's only when I went up on the step ladder, I had 4 screws already drilled into the wall, 4 raw plugs, and it was straightforward to do. It really was. It couldn't be a great deal easier, and the app, like I say, it's very easy to set up the camera. So I'm more than happy to recommend this camera. It really is. I can't think of anything else I need to cover. I've just written my main review. I did mention earlier on in the video, I wondered whether you could get it to work with the BNC cables for Swann CCTV cameras. I did try. I connected it up to one of the existing cameras, and it turned the camera on, but I didn't get any response out of the app. Although I'd already set it up when I plugged it in, it didn't. It just said it was still offline. So I don't know if there was a difference in the wattage that was causing an issue or something. But as it stands, I can't say that works. It powered it up, but I didn't get any feed from it. So I've got to say it doesn't work at the moment. But I'm going to continue to look into that, because it would help me out if I could replace all the cameras that are currently wired up with BNC cables. What else? I don't think there's much else really to say. The app is great. The camera is fantastic in operation. You can set it up to do so much. You really can set it up to do what you want at whatever time, at whatever resolution. Just make sure you put your memory card in before you install it, because otherwise you'll have to take the thing out, because it's a bit fiddly to get. It's only 2 screws, but if it's up on the wall, you'll need to rotate the camera around and whatever and get up on your ladder. So do put your memory card in first. It takes anything up to 512 gigabytes. I think I've got 128 gigabytes in there, which will be good for depending. Again, the size of your memory card will be dictated by how much you want to record. So if you're recording in full 2K rather than the default 720, you're going to take up more space per recording. If you set it to be more sensitive on the recording, you're going to get more recordings. If you have it on full 24 hours a day recording, you're going to fill up a memory card very, very quickly. So do take that into account. But I think at the end of the day, of all of these cameras that I've tested, the Swann I bought, the Tapo I bought, all the others I've been testing for Amazon Vine. The one that I like the best is the one that I've paid the money for, which is the Tapo, and I'm going to continue to replace existing cameras. I'll continue to buy them. That's how much I recommend them. I pay my own money for these, and I'll continue to expand the system. So yeah, I can't say much more about it. It's a 5-star product, even $89.99 RRP. So hope this video has been useful to you, and I shall see you on the next one. Take it easy.